So let's build this schematic. Go to Place, Part, and then type in VDC. Now if nothing shows up, your libraries may not be added, so choose Add Library. And then in this drop-down menu, make sure you select the PSpice folder under the Cadence SPB Tools Capture Library PSpice. And then hit Control A on your keyboard and hit Open. Then that'll load all the libraries. Now you'll see VDC in the source library. Double click on it and place it on the schematic. Okay. Let's go with the resistor now. Double click on R analog. And then you can rotate this part by hitting R on the keyboard. So let's place 3 of these resistors by left click to place it there. Alright, there we go. Now let's find a capacitor. So just choose or hit C on the keyboard and double click on the analog library capacitor. Now it's sideways, so we're going to rotate it with R and then just place 2 of these right around here. Right click and choose end mode. Now let's place a ground. Choose the 0 or ground part from the CapSim library, click OK, and then place it somewhere like down here. Now we need a voltage regulator, so go to Place, PSpice Component, Search. The voltage regulator I like to use for this application is the LM123AK, so click on that to highlight it and hit Enter on your keyboard. Then place the voltage regulator. Right click, choose End Mode, and I'm going to close these windows. Free up some space for me here. Okay, now to wire up this circuit. So choose Place Wire. And we're just gonna wire this thing up. Sometimes people like to hold down the left mouse button once they've started the first wire connection, and that leads to a lot of mistakes sometimes, like weird connections. So just click and release your mouse button as you wire up this circuit. Okay, and for the USB, we need some wires that actually go to a sort of USB. I don't have a USB part on the schematic, and that's fine. And if you want to terminate the wire, you just draw your wire out here and double click to terminate the wire. From here, we'll extend a wire and then double click to terminate that. It'll extend another wire, double click, and then this last wire is the ground. So we know it's going to be 0 volts, but I just put that anywhere because the USB port has these 4 connectors. So double click to terminate that. Now the last thing we need to do is put in the correct values for these components. So double click on the 0 VDC and then change that to 12 volts DC. For the capacitor, highlight this 1N and change it to 10U capital F for microfarad. Likewise, do the same thing for the other capacitor. Alright. And for the resistors, they're a little weird, so I'm going to go with 8.06 for the first capacitor, or 8.06K. Then for the second capacitor, and I keep calling them capacitors, but they're actually resistors, so I don't know. 220 ohms. And then lastly, this resistor is 6.04 kilo ohms for short, but we don't put the ohm there. Alright, this is the completed schematic.